Life will challenge you. You will encounter setbacks, disappointments, and moments when it feels like the world is working against you. That's inevitable. The real question is, how will you respond? Do you allow these difficulties to break you, or do you harness them to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient? Those with unshakable mental strength do not crumble under pressure. They refuse to be controlled by fear, doubt, or negativity. Instead, they cultivate a mindset that enables them to face any challenge with clarity, confidence, and inner peace. This isn't about pretending life is simple. It's about mastering yourself so that no matter what happens, you remain unwavering. The great Stoic philosophers understood this better than anyone. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful rulers of his era, wrote daily reflections to remind himself that life is unpredictable, that hardships are inevitable, but that his response to them was always within his power. He recognized that true strength is not about avoiding difficulties, but about training the mind to rise above them. That's exactly what we're going to discuss today, the 6 key habits that distinguish mentally strong individuals from the rest. These aren't just theoretical concepts. They are battle-tested principles that you can apply immediately to develop an indestructible mindset. Stay with me until the end, because every single insight we're about to explore is vital. Skipping even one could mean missing the key that has the potential to transform your life. And if you find value in what we do here, there's a simple but powerful way to support us. Hit that subscribe button. It takes just a moment, but it makes a huge impact in helping us continue to bring you meaningful content. Now, let's dive in. 1. Welcome change and the unknown. Nothing in life remains static. Seasons shift, people enter and exit our lives, and the world moves forward whether we're ready or not. Yet, so many of us resist change, as if clinging to the familiar will somehow prevent the inevitable. But let me ask you, has holding on ever made transitions easier, or has it only intensified the pain of letting go? We fear change because it pulls us out of our comfort zones. It disrupts our routines, shakes our sense of stability, and forces us to confront uncertainty. But here's the truth. Change itself isn't the enemy. The real danger lies in resisting it. The more we fight against reality, the more suffering we create for ourselves. The Stoics understood this deeply. Instead of wasting energy wishing for things to be different, they trained themselves to adapt. They viewed every shift in life as an opportunity rather than a setback. Marcus Aurelius, who led his empire through war, plague, and betrayal, could have easily spent his days lamenting his fate. But instead, he reminded himself, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, the very obstacles we fear often serve as the path forward. When we stop resisting change and learn to work with it, we become stronger, more resilient, and more equipped to handle whatever comes our way. Think about a time in your life when something unexpected forced you to grow. Maybe you lost a job, went through a difficult breakup, or moved to a new city. At first, it probably felt overwhelming, even painful. But looking back, didn't it shape you into the person you are today? The problem is, we often recognize the wisdom in change only after we've endured it. But what if we could shift our mindset while we're in the midst of it? What if, instead of resisting, we asked ourselves, what can I learn from this? How can I use this experience to my advantage? The Stoics had a phrase, amor fati, which means love your fate. Not just accept it, not just tolerate it. Love it. Love the challenges. Love the detours. Love the unexpected turns that push you to grow. even when they don't feel good in the moment. Because every change, no matter how difficult, is sculpting you into someone stronger. Here's the key. Mentally strong people embrace discomfort. They don't wait for ideal conditions to take action. They don't waste energy wishing things would return to how they once were. They adapt. They adjust their sails to match the wind instead of fighting against the current. And in doing so, they remain steady, no matter how turbulent life becomes. So, the next time change arrives, and it will, pause for a moment. Instead of reacting with fear, ask yourself, how can I use this to my advantage? Because when you stop resisting change, you begin to master it, and that shift in perspective will carry you through anything. 2. Master your emotions instead of being controlled by them. We've all had moments where emotions got the best of us, where anger led to an argument we later regretted, or fear stopped us from seizing an opportunity that could have changed everything. Emotions are powerful. When unchecked, they dictate our decisions, influence our actions, and shape the course of our lives. But here's the distinction. Mentally strong individuals do not let their emotions govern them. They govern their emotions. Now, this doesn't mean suppressing feelings or pretending they don't exist. Stoicism is not about becoming cold or indifferent. It's about mastering your reactions. The Stoics recognized that emotions themselves aren't the problem. It's how we respond to them that determines whether they empower or weaken us. Marcus Aurelius put it perfectly. You have power over your mind, not external events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Think about the last time someone irritated you. Maybe they made a rude comment, criticized you unfairly, or even just cut you off in traffic. What was your instinct? To react immediately? To lash out? That's what most people do. But what if, instead, you paused for a second and asked, is this worth my energy? Will this matter tomorrow? That brief pause, that moment of self-awareness, is the difference between being a slave to your emotions and mastering them. Seneca, another great Stoic philosopher, advised that when anger rises, we should not act on it right away. Instead, we should give it time to settle, because in the heat of the moment, we often make choices we later regret. And isn't that true? How many times have we said or done something in an emotional state only to wish later that we had handled it differently? The reality is, emotions are like the weather, unpredictable, ever-changing, and often beyond our control. But just as a skilled sailor doesn't try to change the wind, we shouldn't attempt to suppress emotions. Instead, we should learn to navigate them. A seasoned sailor adjusts their sails, knowing that the storm will pass. In the same way, mentally strong people acknowledge their emotions but refuse to let them steer the ship. Does this mean ignoring how we feel? Not at all. The Stoics weren't about denying emotions, they were about understanding them. When fear arises, ask, what is this fear trying to teach me? When frustration surfaces, ask, what lesson is hidden here? Emotions can be powerful teachers if we listen to them without letting them take control. Here's where it gets transformative. Once you recognize that your response is your choice, nothing can shake you. Insults lose their sting. Failures become stepping stones. Unexpected events no longer throw you off course. Because you understand that your power lies in your reaction, not in the event itself. So, the next time anger, fear, or frustration rises, pause. Breathe. Remind yourself, I am in control. My emotions do not define me. My actions do. And the stronger your ability to regulate your emotions, the stronger you become in every aspect of life. 3. Set firm boundaries to safeguard your time and energy. Your time and energy are two of the most valuable resources you possess, yet they are also the easiest to give away. Every day demands pile up from different directions. Work needs your attention, friends ask for favors, family seeks your support, and social media constantly fights to claim a portion of your mind. Before you realize it, you're drained, mentally, physically, and emotionally, leaving little to nothing for yourself. But here's what mentally strong individuals understand. They do not let the world dictate where their energy goes. They establish clear boundaries and fiercely protect their space because they recognize that their well-being depends on it. The Stoics grasped this concept deeply. They believed that true wealth isn't measured in money or material possessions, but in one's inner peace. And yet, most people give their peace away without hesitation. Seneca warned against this when he said, "People are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be stingy." Consider that for a moment. If someone attempted to take money from your pocket, you'd resist. But when people take your time, the one resource you can never get back, you give it away freely. Why? Perhaps it's guilt. Perhaps it's the fear of disappointing others. Perhaps it's the habit of always putting others first. But here's the reality. Saying yes to everyone else all the time means constantly saying no to yourself. And mentally strong individuals refuse to do that. They know that if they don't set limits, they'll never have the time or energy to focus on what truly matters, whether that's their goals, their health, or their personal growth. So how do you start establishing boundaries? First, recognize that setting limits isn't selfish, it's necessary. Saying no to something that drains you doesn't mean you don't care. It means you value yourself enough to protect your well-being. You wouldn't allow someone to walk into your home and trash the place, so why let people invade your mental space with negativity, unnecessary obligations, or constant distractions? One of the biggest misconceptions about boundaries is that they push people away, but in reality, the right people will respect your limits. The ones who don't, they were never meant to have full access to your energy in the first place. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." This means that the people, habits, and energy you allow into your life directly shape who you become. If you surround yourself with stress, drama, and obligations that deplete you, don't be surprised if you feel constantly exhausted, anxious, or lost. So here's how you start. Identify what truly matters to you. What are your priorities? What energizes you instead of draining you? Once you define these clearly, saying no to distractions becomes much easier. Practice saying no without over-explaining. You don't need to provide a lengthy justification for protecting your time. A simple, "I can't commit to that right now," is more than enough. Let go of guilt. Protecting your energy isn't an act of selfishness, it's an act of self-respect. If you don't prioritize your well-being, no one else will do it for you. At the end of the day, setting boundaries isn't about shutting people out. It's about ensuring that you have enough time and energy for what truly matters. And when you stop saying yes to every demand and start saying yes to yourself, something amazing happens. You feel lighter, more focused, and more in control of your life. That, my friend, is the foundation of true mental strength. 4. Take ownership of your actions. Life won't always go as planned. There will be setbacks, mistakes, and moments that feel unfair. When things go wrong, it's easy to shift the blame, to point fingers at circumstances, bad luck, or other people. But here's a fundamental truth. Mentally strong individuals don't waste time making excuses. They take full responsibility for their actions, their choices, and ultimately, their lives. The Stoics believed that while we can't control everything that happens to us, we always control how we respond. Epictetus put it best when he said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." That is real strength. Owning your decisions, learning from your missteps, and refusing to see yourself as a victim of life's circumstances. Think about the most successful and resilient people you know. Do they dwell on how unfair life is? Or do they take action, adjust, and keep moving forward? The key difference between those who grow and those who remain stagnant isn't intelligence, talent, or luck. It's responsibility. When you take ownership of your actions, you reclaim your power. When you blame others, you give that power away. Now, this doesn't mean being overly critical of yourself or beating yourself up for past mistakes. The goal isn't self-punishment, it's self-improvement. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, believed that every failure is an opportunity for self-reflection. He advised that at the end of each day, we should ask ourselves, what did I do well today? Where could I have improved? What will I do differently tomorrow? That's how you grow. Not by avoiding mistakes, but by learning from them. Here's a powerful exercise. Think about a challenge you're facing right now. Maybe it's a financial issue, a relationship struggle, or a personal goal you haven't reached yet. Instead of blaming external factors, ask yourself, what part of this situation is within my control? What steps can I take to improve this? That single shift in perspective can change everything. Because here's the reality, life will throw obstacles in your path. You'll encounter difficult people, unexpected hardships, and moments where things seem unfair. But the people who thrive are the ones who don't waste time complaining. They adapt. They take responsibility. They view every setback as a lesson, not a punishment. So the next time you catch yourself making an excuse, pause. Ask yourself, is this helping me grow, or is it holding me back? Because at the end of the day, no one else is responsible for your success, your happiness, or your growth. That's entirely up to you. And once you fully embrace that truth, you become unstoppable. 5. Practice self-compassion, not self-criticism. Many of us are our own harshest critics. When we make a mistake, fall short of a goal, or struggle with something, the voice inside our head can be ruthless. Why do I always mess up? I should be doing better. I'll never get this right. If someone else spoke to us the way we sometimes speak to ourselves, we wouldn't tolerate it. And yet, we let that negative inner dialogue run unchecked. But here's the truth. Mentally strong individuals don't tear themselves down. They practice self-compassion instead of self-criticism. The Stoics understood that no human is without flaws. They didn't expect perfection from themselves or others. Instead, they focused on growth, on learning, evolving, and refining their character. Marcus Aurelius reflected on this in his personal writings, reminding himself, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love." This shift in perspective is crucial. Instead of dwelling on past mistakes, the Stoics encouraged waking up each day with renewed purpose and self-acceptance. Think about this. When a friend makes a mistake, how do you respond? Most likely you offer them encouragement. You remind them that they are human, that setbacks are part of the journey, and that they can learn from the experience and move forward. So why don't we offer ourselves that same kindness? Why do we hold ourselves to impossible standards, expecting perfection while readily accepting the flaws of others? Self-compassion doesn't mean making excuses. It means treating yourself with the same level of patience, understanding, and encouragement that you would offer a close friend. Let's be real. You will make mistakes. You will have days where things don't go as planned, where you feel like you're failing. That's life. But beating yourself up over it won't help. If anything, it will make you more hesitant, more fearful, and more doubtful of your own abilities. The Stoics compared the mind to a garden. What you plant in it is what grows. If you constantly feed it negativity and self-doubt, don't be surprised when insecurity takes root. But if you practice self-compassion, you create the conditions for confidence, resilience, and self-respect to flourish. So, how do you cultivate this habit? Monitor your inner dialogue. When you catch yourself engaging in self-criticism, stop. Ask yourself, would I say this to someone I care about? If the answer is no, then why say it to yourself? Reframe your mistakes as lessons. Instead of saying, I always fail, shift to, this is a setback, not a defeat. What can I learn from this? Remember that growth takes time. Wisdom isn't gained overnight, and resilience isn't built in a day. Progress is a slow process, and that's okay, as long as you keep moving forward. Seneca once wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Every challenge, every failure, and every difficult moment is shaping you into a stronger, wiser version of yourself. So the next time you catch yourself being overly critical, pause. Instead of saying, I should have done better, try saying, I am learning and improving. Instead of, I always mess up, try, this is a temporary obstacle, not a permanent failure. That small shift in how you speak to yourself can make a world of difference. Because in the end, the strongest people aren't those who never fall. They are the ones who rise again and again without tearing themselves down in the process. That is the real power of self-compassion. 6. Commit to lifelong learning and growth. Growth has no finish line. The moment you believe you know everything, the moment you think you've reached your peak, that is when you begin to decline. Life is always changing. The world moves forward, industries evolve, and new opportunities arise. Those who refuse to adapt, learn, and grow will eventually find themselves stuck, watching as the world moves past them. But mentally strong individuals understand a crucial truth. Growth is a lifelong journey. There is no destination where you arrive fully formed. You keep learning, keep refining, and keep expanding your mind until your very last breath. The Stoics embodied this principle. Marcus Aurelius, despite being the most powerful man in the world, never considered himself beyond learning. Every day, he read, wrote, and reflected, reminding himself of how much he still had to discover. He once wrote, "The mind adapts and converts to its own purposes the obstacle to our acting. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, setbacks, failures, and difficulties are not roadblocks. They are the path forward if you're willing to learn from them. Many people think learning ends after school or after they reach a certain level of success. But the truth is, your willingness to keep growing determines how far you go in life. The moment you stop challenging yourself, stop seeking new knowledge, and stop stepping outside your comfort zone, that is when stagnation sets in. And for a strong mind, stagnation is worse than failure, because at least failure teaches you something. Stagnation just keeps you in the same place, year after year, wondering why nothing is changing. So how do you make lifelong learning a habit? Adopt intellectual humility. No matter how much you know, there is always more to learn. Seneca believed that wisdom isn't about having all the answers, it's about continuously seeking them. He wrote, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." That means reading books, engaging in meaningful discussions, and developing new skills. Not because you have to, but because growth itself is the reward. Embrace failure as a teacher. People who fear making mistakes, looking foolish, or stepping into the unknown never grow. Why? Because they avoid the very experiences that provide the most valuable lessons. Every time you stumble, every time you struggle, you gain something priceless: wisdom. But only if you choose to see failure as a lesson rather than a defeat. Regularly step outside your comfort zone. Growth doesn't happen in routine. It happens in discomfort, in uncertainty, in the moments when you don't have all the answers. The Stoics believed we should seek out difficult challenges, not because suffering is the goal, but because growth is. Epictetus taught that just as an athlete trains their body, we must train our minds through discipline, challenge, and continuous improvement. Never let ego stop you from evolving. One of the greatest barriers to learning is the belief that you already know enough. The wisest individuals never assume they have it all figured out. They ask questions. They listen more than they speak. They remain open to new perspectives, even those that challenge their existing beliefs. Because here's the reality: life rewards those who are willing to adapt. The world changes, industries shift, people grow. If you refuse to evolve with it, you will get left behind. But if you commit to lifelong learning, if you challenge yourself to stay curious, to question, to improve, you will never stop growing. And that, more than anything, is what keeps you strong. Final thoughts. Life isn't about avoiding challenges. It's about developing the strength to face anything that comes your way. The habits we've explored today aren't just theories, they are tools. Tools that will help you navigate adversity, master your emotions, and cultivate a mindset that nothing can break. But remember, knowledge alone is not enough. You must apply it consistently, every single day. So ask yourself, am I embracing change or resisting it? Am I controlling my emotions or letting them control me? Am I protecting my time, taking responsibility, practicing self-compassion, and continuing to learn? Because these daily choices are what separate those who crumble under life's weight from those who rise above it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing to grow